Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you for another Film Fanatic show. It is about 10:25 on a Tuesday morning. Pretty nice day today. It is a nice change of pace from a lot of the crappy weather we've been having. So I I'm welcoming it. It's supposed to be pretty warm later in the week, but it's a little bit chilly today. But hey, it is what it is. So I hope everyone's doing good. The last video I did a video where I did a review. Just saw it on Sunday night or Sunday during the day. That was the new Martin Scorsese movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. Pretty amazing film. Quite quite a feat. Quite a an epic film that really only somebody like Martin Scorsese could pull off. If it was in someone else's hands that was not as talented as him, it probably would have been not as good. Quite frankly, it's a very long movie, and it does go for it could have. I don't know. I think it could have been maybe scaled down a little bit as far as the length of it, but at the same time, I feel like it moves right along. Like I wasn't bored. I was really engaged with the whole story. But pretty amazing film, and also Scorsese is not. If you look at his body of work, there are quite a few films in his amazing career that are basic. They're essentially these like epic tales, and they kind of read and come across as almost like novels. And so Casino, Goodfellas, The Irishman, some of his films, Taxi Driver, are very very long. Close to 3 hours, if not more. So it's not really anything different for him to put out a film that is super ambitious, but then also pretty complex, and also a film where it will follow characters over the span of decades, of their lives. And so, in that regard, it's not really anything new that for him. It's, but again, it was a pretty incredible film. So I did a review for it, and it's been up. I put it up yesterday. So if you get a chance to check it out, and definitely check out the movie. But I will say it is an undertaking, so be prepared. As to when you see it, if you do see it in the theater, which I highly recommend, because it will be the only thing he will be doing that day or that night. If you see it at night, your whole night will be taken up, and if you see it during the day, like I did, your entire day will be filled with that, sitting in the movie theater. So, but nevertheless, well worth it. So, today's show is going to be about something completely different. I went to Bull Moose again that night on Sunday when I went to see Killers of the Flower Moon. I went with my good friend Aaron, and we went to the early matinee, or it was mid afternoon, I should say, like 3:30 was when the movie started, and we got done, and we were talking about getting some dinner after the movie, which we did, but then we also were like, it was the last minute plan of going to Bull Moose Music. So I went there and picked up some more movies there, and like I needed to buy more movies, but hey, it was great, and I got some really great titles. I picked up 3 movies, super cheap, super cheap. This was like some of the cheapest movies I've gotten. So very very cool. But I have to say, on another note, I was a little bit bummed out by the selection that they had at Bull Moose. They have probably thousands of titles. Um, So they still have that. They still have that massive selection, but the particular section that I always go to and where I buy movies, which is the horror Blu-ray section, and especially all of the exploitation movies that I try to always seek out. It was kind of slim pickings. I was like, "Whoa, what is going on here?" And because I lately I've been going up to Bangor, and I've been finding the last couple of trips that I've made to buy Blu-rays. I went up there and I got some killer movies, and they had an amazing selection. But so I hadn't been going to Waterville in a while. Waterville is usually my favorite place to go, and so it's been a while. It's been a few months since I've been there, and I was like kind of taken aback by some of the lack of what they usually have. They usually have just an amazing assortment of all of these incredible exploitation movies, but it was kind of few and far between. I found some really great movies, I think, but it was a way smaller selection. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I just, I think a lot of these films are going to go away someday, and that's why I've been avidly trying to buy them and scoop them up. They'll probably be available online for a while, but oh fuck that. Who wants to? I don't really want to shop for these movies online. That's not really a lot of fun. The biggest part, the biggest allure around this whole thing for me is like taking the time to look and check out and explore. Like that's the coolest part of it, of buying them. So I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird time. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think it's going to last. So I'm pretty happy with what I've been buying and what I have been buying, and I'm gonna keep snagging up what I can for the time being, because the way the way physical media and the way people access films and entertainment is just changing so rapidly, and it's hard to keep up. So a lot of things are going to be going bye bye probably forever. So we'll see. So today's show is on a pretty incredible, a pretty amazing film. I don't it would and it's so weird because I don't think I've ever seen it. I don't think I ever seen this movie, and I'd heard about it, of course. It's kind of a legendary movie in the world of horror exploitation and also in the slasher world. It was a very popular movie, and then in a in a very cult way when it came out, and since then, and there's three movies. It's a trilogy. It's a franchise. The first movie was huge in the kind of independent horror exploitation world, and since it's come out, it's gone on to become this like huge movie, and that is the Slumber Party Massacre. I picked this up the other night on Blu-ray. I I watched it, and I was like, wait, because I have heard and no I've known of this movie forever, and I don't think I'd ever seen it, and I was just like, wow. And this movie is just so incredibly awesome. This is a really great addition. It's got a lot of great special features on here. Very, very cool. The transfer of this film is pretty amazing. It's taken from the original negative from the film itself, and it's transferred to Blu-ray. So the quality of this, the remastering of the sound and the picture is just spectacular, spectacular. But um, instantly, I was like, this is a slasher horror exploitation classic. Like I feel like, and again, slasher films in the exploitation world, that is my hands down favorite genre. And I was like, this is the shit. This is the best. And I think it's a essential movie. If you love the slasher genre, it is an essential movie. I think it's one of the best. And I totally kicked myself for never actually have uh, and I like it was my first time seeing it, and I was like, wow, I've never seen this before. That's just crazy. It came out in 1982. it was directed by Amy Holden Jones, which is another interesting wild tale into itself. Out of all the films I've been buying in the exploitation world and in the slasher world, the I'm not aware of any female directors whatsoever. It's really interesting. She's literally the first female director that I've come across in movies I've heard about and that I've seen reviews about, but especially in my own personal collection in the world of exploitation. It seems to be very male dominated completely, and I am not aware of any other female directors. And the special features on here are super cool. There's a really awesome interview on here with Amy Holden Jones, who's the director, and she came, I didn't know anything about her, but she came out of the Roger Corman camp, which again is somebody I've talked a lot about. Roger Corman, a legendary figure in the world of cinema, especially the exploitation world. He helped catapult and start the careers of some mega popular superstar, almost rock star directors. Martin Scorsese, James Cameron, John Carpenter. Just incredible. Just an incredible list of people. And I did not realize that she came out of that camp also. One of the awesome things is there's a really great interview with her, and she talked about how when she was a kid, she had entered a contest for basically a documentary style contest of all of these college students that would submit all of their work, and they were doing these projects that were made to look like documentaries, cinema verite, and she won the best film in the big contest that they had, which was the biggest contest in the country for people who were making these kinds of documentary films. And on the board, one of the people that was on the board that picked her movie was Martin Scorsese, which is crazy. And so after she won the grand prize for her film, she went on to work with Martin Scorsese on Taxi Driver. She was actually his assistant director on Taxi Driver, and she talks about that. And I was just like, whoa, my mind was blown. And she went to New York, worked directly with Martin Scorsese on the entire film, Taxi Driver, starred Robert De Niro, one of the most incredible movies ever made. And then from there, she up until that point, she was working as an editor, working on the technical side of films. And she eventually worked for Roger Corman. And she was doing these various editing projects, and she was having a lot of success doing these kinds of jobs. And Roger Corman basically gave her a script of a film that was not made, and he was curious as to what she could do maybe as a director. So she took a script that he had given her, which was one of the original, well, basically was the original version of the Slumber Party Massacre. And it was under a different title, and it had not been touched. It was just in script form. And she basically made this very short film for $1,000, and then submitted it, gave it to Roger Corman, and he was blown away by what she did for that amount of money. He was super impressed, and he told her, "You definitely have a future in the film business." He was kind of blown away by her work. And at that point, she was figuring she was going to get another big project, or direct another movie, or go on to maybe make her directorial debut. But instead, Roger Corman told her that what she should do was basically adapt this project that she just finished, make that into a full-length feature film, and which became the Slumber Party Massacre. And it was wild because she was doing really, really well as an editor and working on different films. And she had the opportunity to work on Steven Spielberg's E.T. or continue to or direct Slumber Party Massacre. Crazy, totally crazy. So she decided to work and go full on in and direct the Slumber Party Massacre. And and this movie came out and it was a huge success. It was an instant classic amongst people who were into horror exploitation movies and slasher films because this came out in '82. This was right in the prime time of the slasher genre. It was the genre of the slasher film had exploded. It was everywhere. There were so many movies came out, and this movie came out and it was a very successful film, and it spawned a franchise. There were two other films that came out shortly after this one, and it went on to become a huge hit and a huge franchise. And I was just blown away by that whole story of how she got started, and I just thought it was crazy and ironic because I just covered Killers of the Flower Moon by Martin Scorsese, who is one of my favorite directors. And I always talk about, and then before that, I did a show on Martin Scorsese as a director, and I've done shows on Roger Corman, who is one of my favorite, not only producers, but he's also an amazing director in his own right. But he is, kind of the godfather, one of the most important figures in the world of exploitation, and helped, start the careers of all of these incredible directors. And so to find out that she was also part of this whole trajectory, I was just like, wow, that's just crazy and amazing. And she was talking about in the interview of how, she was going alone. She was the first woman, the only woman at that time directing exploitation movies. And and she was saying on how there was like a little bit of a stigma against it, and she was saying, well, on one hand you have all of these major Hollywood directors, that or went on to become huge major Hollywood directors, James Cameron, even Francis Ford Coppola is another one, went on to direct my favorite movie of all time, The Godfather. All of these directors that went on to make these major Hollywood films that went on to win Academy Awards, like the biggest films in the industry, all came out of the world of exploitation and all started out as exploitation directors. And she's like, well, if men can do that, why can't women? And I just thought it was super fascinating, super interesting, really interesting. It's got, and again, I got this movie for like $7, and it's just wild. Like, that's why learning things like this or learning things like that is why I really try to seek out movies that have really great special features on them because of that. Because you just never know. You find out all of these things. Maybe certain, usually if it's around a director or a movie you are familiar with, you'll probably be aware of some of those things as to how that movie came about or who that director is. But in this case, this was a movie, again, like I said, I had heard about for years, and I have no idea why I never saw it. I never got a chance to actually see it, and didn't know anything about the director, so just fascinating. And then, doing some research and hearing about, well, watching this interview, but then doing some research and seeing the other movies that she's done, it's pretty wild for Amy Holden Jones. Um, Slumber Party Massacre was her start. She also did with Halle Berry, The Rich Man's Wife in '96. It's crazy. Made to Order in '87. She also did, and I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis was in it, Love Letters in 1983. She also did the Beethoven movies. What? I was just like, what? With the dog. Beethoven's second, 93, Beethoven's third in 2000, and Beethoven, the first one, in 92. And those movies were like huge, kind of family friendly movies when they came out. I remember when they came out, and it's like hilarious. Mystic Pizza, she also directed that. And another film, Indecent Proposal, with Demi Moore. It's just nuts. She directed like five of the Beethoven movies. The Getaway, which is actually a pretty cool movie with Kim Basinger in '94. The Relic, which is I remember being a pretty cool horror movie in '97. Um, just nuts, totally nuts. And she's still an active director. But this movie is everything as to has everything in it as the totally defines the very definition of slasher and why I love slasher films so much. Great atmosphere, really great atmosphere. It's super fun. It's super campy. She talks about the director talks about this film as being more of a comedy. It is pretty funny. It's got a lot of humor. It's got a lot of humor throughout, but it's definitely a slasher movie. It's got some really good suspense, really well directed, some pretty cheesy acting, and it's really funny. There's some really funny moments. It's kind of sleazy. There's some great naked bodies in this film, and the kills are awesome. The kills are really great in this film. The the killer in this movie is awesome. He uses this big giant drill to kill everyone. Pretty badass. The kills are really really great, and it just gets better and better as it goes. The ending is pretty fantastic. Also, great music. Totally awesome movie. I'm super excited. I kind of feel like this is an essential, slasher movie like Maniac or My Bloody Valentine or Mad Men. Like just if you're into the slasher genre, exploitation, horror exploitation world, I feel like those movies are essential. Like if you like that style, which is my favorite, and another one would be Black Christmas. Uh, the Slumber Party Massacre is right there with them. I mean, really great film, super entertaining, super excited I bought this. So definitely check this out. 1982, you know, 70s, 80s, you know, two best decades, hands down for all things slasher and all things horror exploitation. Amazing stuff. So this is Jason Dean. Thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.